My hand would start to ache, my knee would hurt, stuff like that. And I just thought, oh, I'm just getting older, right? This is just what happens. Like I'm in my 40s now and it's time for me to fall apart. That's what I thought. I had no idea that any of that was connected to anything I was eating, the seed oils and things like that. But then that's when my brain just exploded because I started to realize I think I did have some mental health issues that I was not even aware of. My world just sort of slowly collapsed on me over a good 30-year period that I was doing that binging and restricting cycle that I
Mhm.
talked about earlier. But when I went carnivore, all of a sudden,
Hi, everyone. Today, I'm excited to chat with Christy from the Meeting Wellness YouTube channel today. Christy, for those of us who are not familiar with you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
yeah, absolutely. So I am a 48-year-old teacher. I teach fifth grade here in Southern California. I have been eating a proper human diet since February, but a carnivore diet since about June.
Okay, very cool. So you mentioned carnivore diet. That seems to be a little bit of a buzzword these days, some good, some bad. So what actually led you to that and where did you first hear about it?
Well, I like to say that I'm kind of accidentally went carnivore because it wasn't a well thought out decision by any stretch of the imagination. And to really know how that happened, you got to go back, way back in time, to come on a journey with me to the 1990s.
That's way back.
So, yeah, way back. So when I was a teenager and I started to put on, the weight that all of us females put on, I felt very self-conscious about that. And of course, what I was told was eat less, move more, right? My mom was doing the best that she could, but we didn't have butter. We had margarine, right? We had, it was definitely don't eat, saturated fat. Oh, I heard that from her. Because that was the best nutrition, that she had been taught. Just eat less, move more. And so I tried that and I really got into this cycle of like a binge and restrict. Like seriously bad to where I was obsessed with food. I would count everything all day long in my head. And I would try mostly anything I could try to get off the weight. But then when I would, right? Like I'd starve myself and I'd lose weight, but then I'd be like, I'm hungry. And so I'd go eat a thing of Oreos or whatever. So I just go off the other end and then I would put the weight right back on, but then, right, I get on the scale and then the cycle would begin again. And I just did that. I just did that for years and years. Eventually, somewhere along the way, I did hear about Atkins. I didn't research it though, but I just knew like, okay, carbs are apparently bad and let's try to keep those to a minimum. And, I tried some of that, but without reading the book and without really knowing that there was like a carb number. I had never even heard. I think I was counting like net carbs. I didn't even know there was a difference between, let's say, net carbs and total carbs. I was just kind of doing my thing without really looking into any of the science behind it and just it was still really about calories for me. And it was very unhealthy. But at the time I didn't think that, right? I thought I'm just keeping my weight under control. And if anybody looked at me from the outside, they'd see a skinny, healthy person. Because I didn't my weight never ballooned up past 140
Mm.
except when I was pregnant, my 2 pregnancies. Oh, yeah, the stops were off during that time because I was eating for 2. Um, but, then, my 40s hit and I started noticing, some other things, happening. I didn't know they were related to diet, but, like, I got kind of bad, adult onset acne. Some things like that started happening. My hand would start to ache, my knee would hurt, stuff like that. And I just thought, oh, I'm just getting older, right? This is just what happens. Like I'm in my 40s now and it's time for me to fall apart.
Right.
That's what I thought. I had no idea that any of that was connected to anything I was eating, the seed oils and things like that. I had never, heard that those were any kind of a negative thing at all. And so I definitely wasn't limiting any of that. But February of this year, that's meeky 20 pounds, my internal limit of like 140, it was upon me again. And I thought, all right, I can't. If I see 140 on the scale, that was it. Like I was gonna, pass out. I don't know. It would be bad. I don't know what would happen, but yeah, it'd be bad. So, well, so I thought I'm gonna go keto, right? Like let's do keto. And I didn't really know what it really was. Again, not research, just like, eat bacon and don't eat salad. That's kind of what I knew
Right.
about this. But the difference for me was that this time going in, I very quickly, after making that decision back in February of this year, 2023, I actually joined a Facebook group about keto and started like listening to what other people were saying about it, learning some of the terminology, if you will. And within just a few days of joining that group, somebody had posted, not to me, but like I was just reading through the comments and somebody posted, you got to check out this guy, Dr. Barry.
Mhm.
And I was like, Dr. Who, what? I don't know. But let me go check it out. There's a doctor. Okay, let me go check it out. So yeah, I clicked that link and that led me down my husband's end of the room. He could hear me talking right now. He'd like, yeah, he got so sick of Dr. Barry because hearing was on repeat in my house for like, I don't even know, 3 months, 3 months every day.
Nice.
Just throwing down his keto 101. Like he has that playlist, right? Just every video down the line. So yeah, I got my proper human diet education. I started putting that stuff into practice. I was still counting things, but focusing on carbs, right? And keeping that number to 20 total carbs or less a day. Not looking so much at calories, but I'll tell you, the app I was using would still show me the calories. And I would still look at them. And I don't think that was the healthiest thing just because I had been so obsessed with that, right?
Mhm.
For so many years. But the weight came off, right? The weight came off, the 20 pounds came off easily. I mean, more easily than any other thing that I had tried, but that's like end of benefit. Like 20 pounds came off, but that's what I came for. I didn't know um really that I could, I don't know, fix the things that I had just kind of mentioned with the acne and
Mhm.
the what I think with maybe some arthritis starting up in my hand and things like that.
Right.
Uh, and then about June, I was not feeling like cooking any more vegetables. I just, it was lazy. It was sheer laziness, Adam. Okay, I'll say it right now. I just thought, yeah, I don't want to. That's a lot of work. Like, I'd rather just throw my ribeye into the pan and call it good. I had for sure heard of Ketovore, but I hadn't really. I was watching his keto playlist, not his carnivore. I wasn't focused on that content at all. And then I just started eating more and more meat. The vegetables just kind of made their way off the plate. It was, like I said earlier, not a well thought out formulated decision. Because I wasn't, I don't know. Well, first of all, I didn't really know about it, but I didn't have some autoimmune condition, right? You hear people like, oh, they have this or that, um,
Right.
or some kind of like deep depression or some reason like that, why
Mhm.
they might choose to do that. I didn't know her from Adam. Her at all, or her family, right? And it's like local, but it's, I don't know, like an hour and a half, And
Yeah.
I'm like not gonna let him just go off with strangers that I don't know. So I said, you can go if I go. Because it was gonna be like her parents and her and him. And I'm like, well, if I go, if they're okay with it, I'm okay with it. And let's, whatever. And then if you knew me at all before that, just that decision alone would have absolutely floored you because that wasn't me. I wouldn't want to go anywhere. I was the queen of the introvert, right? I'd go to work because I had to, and then I'd come home and I wouldn't want to talk to anyone. I'm closed. Don't talk to me. Let me just sit here on the couch. I would turn down social invitations all the time. Or I would say that I would do it, but then I'd cancel because then like the reality of the moment would hit and I'd be like, no, I don't feel good, whatever. I'd give whatever excuse, to get out of it.
Mhm.
And that's not to say that there's anything wrong with being an introvert. I think being an introvert has to do with kind of how you re-energize.
Mhm.
I would say I'm still an introvert. So if I spend a lot of time with people, then I need some quiet time, you know? But I was avoiding the world and I was anxious about it. Like I didn't want to go to the grocery store because people would look at me. I wouldn't want to go for a walk because people would be watching me walk, like as if they care. Thought that they did, right? I thought that they were looking at me and maybe I look fat today, maybe I'm walking weird. I don't know.
Right.
I would just avoid it. And it was like, I don't think I noticed it happening because it just sort of kind of did this, right? My world just sort of slowly collapsed on me over a good, 30-year period that I was doing that binging and restricting cycle that I
Mhm.
talked about earlier. But when I went carnivore, all of a sudden it's like, sure, I'll go to an amusement park with three strangers, and I know you're going to be with your friend, and I'm going to talk to the parents, and there's going to be 3,000 people. I don't know how many people. I don't know, probably 10,000 people. I don't know out there, and I'm not anxious, nervous, worried. I'm not thinking about the drive over there, how it's going to work, where I'm going to park. Like, I'm just not worried about any of it. I'm not anxious about any of it. And before that just would have sent me, like, I just would have said no. I would have said, no, you can't go. That would have been my answer. So that
Wow.
was,
Well,
yeah, right?
that's incredible. So
Yeah.
so that happened all the way up until carnivore, or did it start to go away during your keto phase, or
I noticed it. So that all occurred in June, which is sort of when I went carnivore, but I can't say that I have a carniversary because it was an accident, right?
right?
But I would say that was the first thing I noticed, and I was like, "Wait a minute, I'm not worried about this." Like, I kind of had some self-reflection, like, "Why am I saying yes to this? Like, this is weird." And then that kind of led me to start thinking about what are the other things, in my life that, were going on. In September, if you've seen it at all on my channel, I did a sprint challenge because I had all this energy from carnivore and I was like, what do I do with all this energy? Like, I can't, like, what do I do with it? So I started sprinting. Adam, where did I do that? Up and down my street. So in front of people, there I am, middle-aged lady just sprinting happily up and down my street. If I saw somebody, I, said hi. I still sprint. So when I see somebody, I wave at them and say hello and go on my way. That never would have happened. I didn't even want to walk in front of people. And now I'm okay to go out there and just do my thing and not be worried about, you know, what they're thinking about.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
essentially, eating steaks has eliminated your anxiety. Y- how does that happen?
So I'm not a doctor or medical professional,
Right.
way, shape, or form. But here's my theory. I mean, there were days strung together where I was eating no more than 500 to 800 calories in a day and trying to just reduce that, as low as I could get it for days on end and then trying to beat my score, right? Like if I had 700, oh, the next day was going to be 650. And how can I do that? That's like okay, I was never diagnosed with an eating disorder, but that's like anorexic levels,
Hmm.
of calories what I was doing to myself. And the only reason that I didn't get, totally wasted away is because I would then binge and then put the pounds back on. But that was not healthy because when I was restricting, I wasn't eating healthy things. I was eating just low calorie things.
Hmm.
And when I was binging, I was eating all the thing, the ice cream and all of that. So, so for all those years, I don't think I put a healthy thing, in my body. And I know for sure I messed with, my hormones, my metabolism. And, I think a keto diet can be, just what I started with, the 20 carbs, total carbs or less. I think that can be amazing for people. But I think my internal, like the things I just said, metabolism and hormones were so messed up that it took turning that carb knob just to like pretty darn close to zero for
Hmm.
me to start noticing some of those other benefits. P.S. The acne is gone.
Awesome.
My hand doesn't ache anymore. My knee doesn't ache anymore. My feet used to swell like they did when I was pregnant, but like I wasn't pregnant. Like in my 40s, every day they would swell to where I needed to buy bigger shoes.
Good.
Um, I can wear all my old shoes again, so that doesn't happen anymore. all since going carnivore. And then the anxiety, the calorie counter, the constant like obsession with how many calories am I putting in? I have no idea how many calories I'm putting in. And I don't care. I didn't have to try to do that. Like, did I see a therapist? No. Did I like have all this? Did I, like, okay, this isn't healthy. I never had a thought like, this isn't healthy. You need to change this. Let's journal about it. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying I didn't do that. Like, it just changed.
That's awesome. So that changed along with just intuitively not wanting vegetables. Your body
Right.
just kind of did its own thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
I didn't feel a need for them. I'd buy them and then they'd be sitting in there like they were sitting in the drawer, the drawer. in
Yes.
the-
Right. Yeah.
They're in that drawer. And I'm just like, me, no,
Yeah, I'm
and
right there with you. It's just too much effort to put in to eat that stuff, and compared to the taste of a steak or anything animal based, it's like, why bother?
yeah, why bother? And the only way to make them, for me, palatable is to put a bunch of animal products on them anyway, a bunch of butter
Yes,
or whatever, cheese,
yes, or
um, you
bacon, or
know, bacon. Yeah.
yeah,
So, so yeah, I just stopped. And I had little did I know all of the other things in my life, that would improve by doing that.
that's
So
that's awesome. So, have you experienced any challenges at all since you started eating it more intuitively and eating the carnivore diet?
yeah, a few. So at the beginning, I think, you would think that since I sort of started in February and I was keto and then sort of ketovore, like I remember the moment I was like, I think I'm kind of ketovore. Like my carbs are kind of like 10 now, not 20. And then down into carnivore, because people say like if you do it more gradually, you won't have maybe as many of the adaptations sometimes. Oh no, I did.
Uh-oh.
So I was for sure in the bathroom for a good 3 weeks, a lot. And I started to even get concerned because I think I heard perhaps Dr. Berry talking about maybe 2 weeks. And I was like,
Mhm.
like when it was like 3 weeks.
Right?
After 3 weeks, that did normalize. I did not, like I said, it wasn't on purpose, but the going carnivore, but the what kept me sticking to it was like my anxiety was going down and I was feeling so much energy that I was like, "Okay, this has gotta be good for me." I've never felt this like, just wake up and be like, "Alright, go. What's happening today?" Whereas before it'd be like, wake up and then, "Okay, when can I go to sleep next? Because 'Cause I'm tired." So I think that's what kept me sticking to it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I definitely had that as a symptom. The next thing I noticed was, I did put on a few pounds. So for somebody that was very upset about putting on a few pounds, there was a moment of like hesitation there for sure, but it didn't stop me. I thought, okay, this has got to be like muscle or bone or something good, I guess. But I had to tell myself that. Like I had to like self-talk that. Whereas the other things it just kind of happened and then I was like, oh, this is cool. When I saw the scale number go up, yeah,
Right?
I had to like, okay, this is, you're eating the proper human diet. This is muscle. This is bone. This is or healing or something.
Mhm.
Um, so I would say, yeah, I put on a few pounds, but I'm still sprinting. I've done lots of fitness challenges, push-ups, squats, plank, getting ready to start a jump rope challenge. Um, so yeah, my fitness is on point and I'm just not worried about those few pounds. My jeans still fit, whatever.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. It's just a number anyways. So it's so many times all of us pretty much associate that number on the scale to fat. And you're right. There's so much more to that equation. You got water, you've got muscle and bone and all these other things that are likely increasing in your body. So maybe not the water, but muscle and bone, definitely for sure. So yeah, I'm sure you have nothing to worry about.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it. I what at the beginning it was hard. Like you see that number go up, and when you're someone that spent all those years obsessed with that.
Right?
But yeah, like I'm over it now. I'm good with it. And then the last challenge, was very recently. Yeah, I'm a lean mass hyper responder. So if people don't know what that is, it's someone that's fairly lean to begin with, or actually, I've heard Dave Feldman, those guys talking about Nick Norwitz too, talking about it can actually happen for people that have been overweight, but when they get lean, they can also become lean mass hyper responders. But I
Okay.
wasn't, I didn't have a lot of weight to lose. And so I've never had blood work because I'm a passer outer with needles. Yeah, I neglected it. And so I just thought after going carnivore, yeah, I'm just gonna check it for my own. So I called the doctor. I requested the physical. I requested the blood work. And I didn't have anything to compare it to. I asked her to also run an A1C and a fasting insulin on Dr. Hampton's advice,
Hmm.
which she was like, but why though? And I was like, because well, I kind of explained, well, I would like to check and see because if my glucose levels are low, maybe I still have too much insulin, whatever. Like, but she didn't understand why I wanted those tests at all. She said she only does those in like her overweight patients.
Right.
But she did agree to do those for me, and, so but it turned out that, yeah, my A1C is, doing fine, and my fasting insulin is doing fine. They actually tied at a 4.8.
Great.
My yeah, right? My, HDL, I don't remember the exact numbers, but my HDL to triglyceride, ratio, which should be under 2, is under 1, so it's 0.85, which is fantastic. But my LDL cholesterol legit just says greater than 400. Like, it didn't have a number.
Right. So
And
have you
my
had a
doc
heart attack yet?
what?
Have you had a heart attack yet?
No, not yet, Adam, but my
Okay.
doctor looked at me like I was gonna have one right there in front of her.
Oh, jeez.
And so, like I said, I had binge watched Dr. Berry for months, right? Back in February, when I first discovered that. I had watched then, of course, you do that, and then in your YouTube feed, right, you start seeing the other doctors, Chafee and Hampton and all those guys.
Mhm.
So I had watched that, I had watched, and then that's when I got into, like, the non-doctors, like, Carrie at Homestead How and other people that are, oh, just regular people just doing this, and, started to, like, enjoy that content too.
Mhm.
And then I'd heard, like, just because I just watched so much YouTube about this, I'd, like, heard the term lean mass hyperresponder, and I understood that it was, like, your LDL is high, but I didn't pay that close of attention, until I was one. I thought that I was mentally prepared going into that blood work, like, adventure, right? I thought, okay, my cholesterol is going to be high, and then she's going to tell me it's high. We even had a conversation. I told her I was a carnivore. I'm pretty sure I'm the first one she's ever met. She was like, but wait, you don't eat any fruits or vegetables. And I said, nope. And she said, fascinating. But this was all before the blood work came back. This was when I was just there at the appointment, right?
Mhm.
And, she said, "I don't think this is gonna be healthy for you, and, but, we'll see what the blood work says." Because she wasn't, like, mean about it. She said, "I think that different things can work for different people, but everyone that I've ever seen that's gone keto, their cholesterol's gone up. And so I'm concerned for you," was basically what she said. So then I left her office, and I don't remember how many days went by, but I'm out here in California, and in California, there's some kind of law on the books where the doctor gets your blood work results first. You can't see them as a patient for several days.
Wow.
Yeah, it's 3 states, and I forget the other 2. And the only reason I know that is the lab I went to was Quest, and I kept logging into the Quest portal, and then at one point it said, "Your results are in, but if you're in," it was like California and then like 2 other states, "your results will be released at approximately this time." And I was like, "Oh, there's like some kind of law or something where they get released to the doctor first." So I don't know if she knows about that law. I mean, you'd think as a physician, she probably should. I don't know if she does because she called me. First of all, she knows I'm a teacher, but she called me at 8 a.m. when I'm teaching my phone. But she left a message that said something like, "Your cholesterol is the highest I've ever seen. I'm very worried about you. You need to get on medication or change your diet immediately. I hope you've seen all of this for yourself.
Hmm.
Something, I mean, I probably got it out of order, and then
Right.
she, and I'm like, well, I can't see it. So I would like to, all that stuff I told you about my triglyceride ratio with my HG. I didn't know any of it. I didn't
Right.
know what anything was because she didn't like tell me any numbers. And then before I got my numbers myself, she called me again and left a similar message. And I was like, I'm not calling her back till I can see it,
Right.
with my own two eyes so I can be on the same page as her. She's clearly not, telling me, like, she's not giving me specifics.
Hmm.
Um, anyways, then eventually I could see the numbers. So yeah, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm a lean mass hyperresponder. This is crazy. So I went and looked into, some more of Dave Feldman's research on that, and more has recently come out, which is actually quite encouraging. I never did speak to her, and I think she fired me before I could fire her. She left me 4 messages though.
Interesting. She
um,
was really concerned, I guess, right?
she was really concerned until she wasn't. So after the fourth message, I did call her back twice. The first time I talked to somebody in the office, left a message. The second time was after the office was closed, and I left another message, stating that I was, concerned because my vitamin D was also a little low and my thyroid was a little low. Interesting how she didn't want to address either of
Hmm.
those numbers. Interesting how she didn't want to address like what that it was just your LDL is high, take medicine, or I give her credit for saying or change your diet. She did say that. That I could try that first.
Right.
Uh, Come to find out, if I just had an Oreo every day, that for 2 weeks that LDL would come down, Adam. I'm not
Well, you eat
saying
a
I'm
whole box of them then.
Have you seen that study or that N=1 experiment?
I have
That Nick
not.
Okay, so Nick Norwitz, check out his channel. He's on Dave Feldman's team. He's a lean mass hyper responder. So he decided to check his blood work to see if eating an Oreo, I think it was 100 grams of carbs, or I don't know the amount, but he was using Oreo cookies because in lean mass hyper responders, the deal is we don't have a bunch of glycogen because we're lean and we're active. So we don't have that glycogen in our liver to be released. And so our body does its, the theory is another way with transporting, LDLs. And then that's where the science is like, and I teach fifth grade, okay?
Right.
But it has to do with that. And so if you give your body some glycogen, he
Mhm.
did it in the form of Oreos for just a couple of weeks, our LDL will come down to normal, whatever that means. And
Interesting.
again, that was N=1. It was not, a bunch of people in this study. But that's what happened to his LDL. And then I don't think he's finished it yet. He stopped doing the Oreos, let his LDL go back up, and he's going to try a statin to see what works better for us lean mass hyperresponders.
Interesting.
Uh,
Yeah, that
yeah,
would be a great comparison,
I
because my theory is the Oreos are probably gonna be more effective.
Yes, and that's his point. He's not saying in any way, shape, or form that they are healthy. He's just saying, look, in us lean mass hyper responders, you put a little glycogen in us, and then our body goes back to that mode of transporting energy
Mhm.
um, that most people are using. But we're just using, the cholesterol in our body to deliver that to the cells. So
Interesting. Well,
yeah.
now you have a new doctor.
Yeah, so she just stopped calling me. I have found 2 low carb doctors in my area that I just need to call. And I keep saying that. I've said that in so many interviews. People are like, "She's lying. She's never gonna call." I haven't called yet.
Right. There you go.
Guess I'm not that worried about it, Adam.
Yeah, I'm not either, for sure. Yeah, I'll go for an emergency or acute care or something like that, but the way that I feel like Superman. I look like him, but I feel like him. If it ain't broke, it doesn't need fixed, so yeah,
Yes.
that now don't take my word for it or my advice. Whoever's watching this, you do what's right for you. But
Mhm.
for me and mine, yeah, I don't go to the doctor really for anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in the long run, I'm glad I did it just so that I know. Like, I feel like it gave me more information. Am I going to go do that all the time? No. She didn't help me with my thyroid, so I guess I'm on my own. I started doing iodine drops in the hopes that that would raise those numbers, and I think I'm just going to go back to Own Your Labs.
Hmm.
Because I think I left that part of the story out. I did go to Own Your Labs and I did get a particle density test on my cholesterol. My cholesterol is the biggest, fluffiest cholesterol, which is like, the kind that they say is good. The small dense particles were so low. I don't even have enough of them to move up a little arrow. Like it's at the end of the graph. Like it couldn't be any lower or the arrow would fall off the end of the graph.
I
Floor.
love
Like,
that.
yeah. So I did that. So I know how to do that process now. I might just go and she didn't even do all the thyroid tests that like Dr. Berry like recommends to
Hmm.
fully test your thyroid. She just did two. So and I know it's gonna take a few months, so after a few more months, I'll go back, and then if I need a doctor at that point, maybe I will need some, thyroid hormone replacement, but I'm trying to do it with iodine right now and just see what happens. So,
Okay, very cool. Yeah, I'll look forward to some updates on your channel about that for sure.
yeah, absolutely. I will post about them when I do them. I've been doing the iodine since the end of October, so it hasn't even been 2 months yet. So it can take up to, like it can take, like, 6 months. It's not something that happens quickly.
Right. Okay. Awesome. So you had mentioned about food freedom in the past. How do you define food freedom?
So, food freedom for me is, first of all, I eat when I'm hungry. I don't have like defined meal times throughout the day, with the exception of, when I am teaching, lunchtime is at a particular time, because, schedule. But so I do bring food, for that. But if there are days when I don't eat at that time, or I mean, it's not usually, but there are days when I don't. Most days I don't eat breakfast, but if I'm hungry, I do. And a lot of times I'll post a short about it. Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm hungry today. Look, here's my bacon and eggs that I'm going to have that I never have, like every couple of weeks for some reason. Who knows? My body just needs it. But if I do that, I'm not worried about what's going to happen later or like recalculating. In the past, if I ate something, I would calculate, okay, how much should that have in it? How many calories and all that have in it? And then like, how do I need to adjust my day
Hmm.
around that? And that doesn't happen anymore. I just eat what sounds good. It might be bacon and eggs. It might be a ribeye. Half the time it's pecan. Yeah, I can't get through an interview without outing the awesomeness that it's pecan. Yeah. Um, it might be hamburger patties, right? It might be, meatloaf. It was so fun. We did a meatloaf recipe relay. So more on that later if you want to know about that. But yeah, I got really sick of just ground beef in a bowl. Like I got really sick of it. So I thought, okay, what else can I do with ground beef? So I've been doing a lot of meatloaf lately. But it's a lot of ribeyes, chuck eyes. I discovered chuck eyes. Those are pretty good. And yeah, I just eat when I'm hungry. If I look at that steak and it looks like it needs some butter, then I put some butter on it. If it doesn't, if I look at it and go, yeah, that looks about right, then I don't. It's crazy now how much feedback I get from my body that I didn't like ever get before. So yeah, I don't worry about how many calories I'm eating, how many times I'm eating. Usually it's twice a day, sometimes one. Um, my husband does not eat this way of eating with me whatsoever. So there's still like ice cream and cookies and stuff in the house. And the past for me, the worst time of day was after dinner, right? So I eat dinner and then I'd sit there on the couch just trying to like restrain myself from ice cream. Like, don't do like just go to bed so you don't do it or whatever.
Right.
Now all that stuff is there and it doesn't call to me at all because like right now I haven't eaten since I think I ate lunch around noon, 11 or noon or something. I was hungry. I had some leftover meatloaf and a couple of over easy eggs, and I'm full still. That was what, 5.5, 6 hours ago. I feel good. I'm not gonna eat anything else today because I can tell, like, I'm still good, and I'm not in there even though it's been all that time, I'm not wanting to go grab a cookie or, whatever. We just went off Christmas vacation on Friday. Do you want to know how much sweet stuff like we get from the students as gifts?
I can imagine.
Really fancy cookie store called Crumble Cookies.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I got a whole array of like crumble cookies and I was not tempted to take a bite. So that's
We have one of those, like, literally 30 seconds from our house.
do you?
Yeah, and before I was on the carnivore diet, it was like, "Oh, this is like manna from heaven. It's right
Mhm.
there." And
Mhm.
that yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, definitely bad. I don't crave, even though I have not, okay, full disclosure, I still drink coffee and I still put, I do use element in there, but it's like the chocolate salt. So there's like some stevia. I have not clearly gotten rid of all sweet taste, but that's really the only one that I do,
Mhm.
anymore. But I don't crave that stuff. Like those crumble cookies were right just sitting there and I didn't even want one. So that's what food freedom is to me.
That's
Um,
awesome.
Yeah, I crave ribeye. I crave pecan. I have a pecan, you're ready for tomorrow. I'll be making one. Usually I only have time to do it on the weekends, and I'm like, I'm on Christmas vacation. Pecan all the time.
I love that. This sounds great.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're intuitively eating now, and you're
Yeah.
listening to your body,
Yeah.
and you're not counting calories and doing all that brain function type stuff. So what are you actually doing with all this free thinking time now?
Yeah, it's so crazy. I did a video about how that calorie counter in my head and all of that obsession, it was taking like my mental bandwidth, right? You're a tech guy, you know what I'm talking about.
Right?
It
Yeah.
was like I was on dial-up. Like I was dial-up speeds for life because all the rest of it was taken up with that. I'm talking all day long, every day. That was if I was awake, I was like calculating and recalculating and thinking about my next meal and what was going to be included and how I could reduce it from the previous day. It was just nonstop. So now I'm not doing that anymore. And also my social anxiety has gone away. One of the things is I have all this like capacity to be a better mom, so which is good. I have 2 kids. They're teenage boys. My youngest is a freshman in high school, and he's in the school band. Which if you have a kid in the school band, or if you were in the school band, or if you went to high school that had a band
Right?
and football, then you know. So like every Friday, I was, in public after my bedtime not feeling tired, um, in a big group of people cheering on my son. He's a percussionist. And I was like excited for Friday. Like to leave in Emily right now. I'm excited to go sit in some stands full of people and sit right next to the band and like dance to the, what they got going on. And I don't care about the football, but I don't know if he was playing football, I would care. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I was there to support the band, and they even do like a crosstown rivalry where they went over there, so I went over, to that school for that. He also does FFA, so he got an award for FFA, Future Farmers of America. Yeah, he's doing a lot of stuff. So, yeah, it's just like all those things that I would have been like dreading because I wouldn't want to go do them and have to be out in public and all of that. I just do them without like happily or whatever. I would do them before because, mom guilt is real, right? Like you've got to, your kid gets an award in school, you got to flip and go. You can't just how like it didn't happen.
Right.
But I would like hate it the whole time. So,
Now you enjoy it.
yeah, I'm enjoying it. So, like in June, my youngest promoted from 8th grade, and my oldest graduated high school.
Okay.
And it was like we had family over all day. It was like a marathon day of like family gatherings, and I served carnivore stuff, and everyone else that wanted other stuff, just bring what you want for you. Don't worry about the meat. I got the meat and the charcuterie. You guys, if you want other stuff, bring it. And yeah, it was like all day. I wasn't exhausted. I wasn't like thinking about what are they just gonna leave my house to leave me alone,
Right.
which is not very nice, Adam. But those are the
Right.
thoughts that I used to have about it.
Mhm.
Yeah, when those kind of functions were going on. So, yeah, I can enjoy them now. I got Christmas with my family. My family always celebrates on like the Saturday before or after so that we stay out of all the in-laws way. And that way everybody can kind of, be there. Nobody has to miss out because it's like interfering with somebody else's celebration. So on Saturday the 23rd, we're getting together with my side of the family. And yeah, I can like look forward to things and not worry about, you know, what that time is gonna be or how tired I'm gonna be or whatever.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So it sounds like you're taking that mental bandwidth that was taken from you and applying it to your family, which is that's very noble and commendable. And I'm sure that your family appreciates that.
Yeah, it also helps me. I mean, I hope they do. I think my kids can tell. I think they see it. I mean, they're boys. They don't like they don't talk about it, but
Right.
my son gives me tech support on my YouTube channel. Training, stuff like that. So he gets involved with that kind of stuff. If my computer has a glitch, he helps me fix it, which is very nice of him. Yeah, I also put a lot of mental bandwidth into my YouTube channel. I had to learn everything from scratch, and so you're doing this too, so you know what that means. If like you're a person who I barely watch YouTube, honestly. So yeah, I had to learn what even is a thumbnail and like how do you make them be what's Canva exactly? I don't think I ever filmed a video in my life. Like I never like I barely take pictures. I prefer to just enjoy the moment. So I'm not the person that wants like pictures, a bunch of
Right.
pictures. So I barely do that. So I don't even think I ever push record on a video camera in my life. Uh, yeah, I know how to do all that now. I can edit a video.
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, I'm just having, a great time with that, and you know what? The reason for my channel, because there's so many of us out there now, there's a few. Some of it's for me, honestly, because, like, when I was doing that sprint challenge,
Hmm.
I had a sprint every day. That was one of the first things I posted, and I didn't wanna have to get on there and say, "Yeah, I didn't do it today, guys." I didn't wanna have to do that, and so it just keeps me, like, on top of things. But then as my channel, kept going, I started kind of meeting people. So I have this little group and because you have it too.
Hmm.
By the way, Ellie told me to say hi. She said to wait till after the interview, but I'm not gonna do it. Ellie reacted and said
Hi,
hi.
Ellie.
um, so yeah, I mean, and then I started collaborating. I love collaborating with others. Who am I right now? Yeah. Ellie and Haley at Meet Us Where It's At. We have our Atlantis lifestyle every Tuesday, focusing on women's health. I did the meatloaf recipe relay with 5 other YouTubers where I started off with just a basic meatloaf recipe and then I handed the meatloaf baton to the next person who had to like add an ingredient. And it just kind of morphed into this like fancy meatloaf at the end. It was super cool. Um,
Nice.
it was really fun. And so, yeah, just doing stuff like that. And then also, the main reason is I'm not the person with the picture. Here I was, and here I am 100 pounds later. Like, I don't have that picture. Nobody cares if a skinny girl got a little skinnier. Like, that's not, nobody cares.
Right.
Nobody feels sorry for me. Not that I want them to, but
Right.
that's not my story. When other
Mhm.
people have that story and they can help other people in that situation, great. Like, that's amazing. If I had those pictures, I'd be the first one, right? If I had that story, I'd be the first one. But that's not my story. My story is all what was going on in my own head,
Mhm.
and how that's changed with a few physical symptoms too, like the acne and stuff, right? But
Right.
it's the mental health, the changes in my mental health, my sleep, my mood, my energy, my anxiety, and all of that. Uh, you can't look at a picture and see it. So if
Yeah.
I don't get on here and start talking about it, nobody's gonna know.
Right.
And people gotta know, I think. People gotta know
Ab
that at least it's an option.
ab
And yeah, eat steaks and get rid of your anxiety.
absolutely. Speaking of Lioness Lifestyle Live, how do you ladies actually select the topics for your live stream?
Oh, that's a great question. So when we first started, there were 3 of us. It was funny because Ellie was one of the very first YouTubers that I reached out to, and I was like,
Mm.
"Hey, do you wanna get on and, like, get on, like, a Zoom and just, like, chat? Because I wanna start meeting some people." And she was so nice. She was like, "Yes, let's do it." We ended up talking for, I don't even know, 2 or 3 hours. Like, we just clicked, and one of the things we talked about was we had seen a lot of, people in this space, interviews in this space, and a lot of times it was like a bunch of men and their stories, which is awesome. Like, go men.
Right.
Like, I don't have a problem with that. But like, where's our stories, right? You start to see more of them now. I've seen a lot more of them more recently. But we're like, there's women doing this too. And sometimes our health needs, and benefits too are different.
Hmm.
And we just felt like that was sort of a gap that was missing
Right.
in the space.
Hmm.
And so the very first thing we did was, first of all, we agreed like, okay, we gotta let's like do this weekly show. Let's have three hosts and let's just start inviting on. You don't have to have a YouTube channel. If you're a woman eating the proper human diet, anywhere for on the spectrum, our guest for December 26th is low carb. Like she doesn't even consider it even keto, but she's low carb, whole food. Anywhere from that all the way to like lion or whatever.
Hmm.
We want to hear your story. We want to talk about it. So we do send out like a Google form where they can kind of answer some questions because it is a little bit different for everyone. And then we ask them to like what they're passionate about. So a couple weeks ago, our guest was talking about something that I don't think anyone had really said, but on Lioness before, talking about this way of eating and longevity, and like how she watched both of her parents die earlier than, or at least her dad, earlier than she felt like it needed to happen. Well,
Hmm.
guess what? That happened to my dad too. He passed away way earlier than what needed to happen. So I never heard anybody put it like that before. But so that's kind of where we get the topics. The first part of the show is like, okay, tell us your story. Kind of like you had me just do, like, how did you get into this? Like, how did you hear about it?
Hmm.
Why did you do it? And what benefits have you seen? And then now that you've been doing this for a bit, like what is your thing? Like what is your passion, in this space? Robin at Carnivore's grandma was talking about the Black community and how she's seeing all these incidents of like type 2 diabetes and this push towards veganism. And she's very worried about it. Like that was her thing. So everybody sort of has their little, niche or thing that they are, they feel like is like a really important message to roar about. And so we give them the space and the opportunity, to do that as well as, we've always got people in the chat, chiming in and we love that too. But so that's kind of how we come up with it. The guests kind of do.
Yeah, I love that. That's a really good idea, and it helps others to have a extra chance to and a space to share their passion. So yeah, I really like that. That's a good idea.
Yeah. We have some
So
greatness coming up for the rest of December. And then like in January, we've got Ketogenic Woman and Indigo Neely. And then we might have our first lion.
uh-oh.
It's Dr. Chapey.
Ah,
No,
awesome.
signed up, but he didn't promise anything. He
Very
signed up
cool.
though for the end of February. So he's like, I will do my very best to make it.
Very cool. That is
So,
awesome.
right?
Yeah. So in terms of your channel, Meeting Wellness,
Yes.
what is some of the most memorable comments and feedback that you received from your subscribers?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So the best comments and well, I like all the comments and feedback. I know that sounds like I'm just saying that. I am not just saying that because who the heck am I? I'm just some teacher. Like I'm not a dietitian, doctor, none of it. Don't know anything about YouTube. And here I am putting out content and just like hoping that maybe it'll help somebody. That's it. That's the only reason.
Mhm.
So I love all the comments. First thing when I get up, I make my coffee because coffee. And then I get on and I see like I answer like any comments that I see it. And it's like my favorite part of my morning. So any comments I do enjoy. But I never knew that there were other people that were, like me. Um, you know, thin, but like obsessed with their weight, like trying to figure this all out, trying to count calories, being anxious and all this stuff. And I've had several people, even down to the teacher. Like there was one comment, they were like, "You could be describing me like I'm a teacher and like all those things you just said." Like what? So you think, you feel alone, especially when you have social anxiety, because I isolated myself, Adam. It was my own fault, right?
Hmm.
So you feel alone. You have all these thoughts. Definitely mental health issues have been, in my family. So I just thought this is getting worse. Like my dad died of dementia, so I'm probably gonna get dementia too. Like I totally saw myself going down that pathway. And now I know there's a way that maybe you don't have to. And I feel like I've changed that trajectory. So when people put comments like that, you know, um, that I love that the most. Those are my favorite. And I wish I had some. I had some printed out, and for another interview I did, I should have kept them here on my desk because I would have read them to you because just fantastic. Or even like the lean mass hyper responder. So many other lean mass hyper responders, and it's rare. I guess it's really rare to be one. But because I kind of put that in my blood work video, people were saying, I am at lean mass hyper responder too. Here's how I kind of coped with it. I totally get you on like, cause it makes you nervous. Like, I don't think I finished that thought earlier where you think you're prepared because you've heard all the doctors talk about that cholesterol is not the major factor here. There's all these other factors, and like LDL is like 13th on the list. So like, let's worry about the other things first. Like you hear them all say that. But like when your doctor, tells you a message like that, about you, now it's not theory anymore, right? Now it just got real.
Right.
So anyways, the comments from the other lean mass hyper responders were very encouraging and helpful. But yeah, when people reach out and say, well done, I also had this, or my experience was kind of like yours, but like here's, and they take time to like anyone who takes time out of their day, right? To like talk to me. Um, that just it makes the day. I love it.
That's awesome. So, what are your future plans for your channel and your advocacy in the carnivore diet space?
Yeah, Lioness Lifestyle Live is not going anywhere. We have guests scheduled through March. And I have to keep like I stopped recruiting, but like people keep sending people my way. And so I'm like, oh, why not? Just be aware it's March. I'm super, super passionate about that because I feel like we as women are especially, although I've always loved a ribeye. Like you could ask, like you could have, like I've always loved a ribeye. So, but I think we as women are told eat salad, and a lot of women are like, yeah, I just can't do the meat, and I'm gonna eat salad. Like I think that's a lot more ingrained into us, where it's like men, meat, whatever. It's just like part of the difference. I feel in our culture. Um, so yeah, that's that Linus Lifestyle Live is not going anywhere. Hey, we have Alia on Thursday, Adam. We have an extra special episode. Alia's coming
Awesome.
on Thursday, so we're normally Tuesdays, but yeah, she was busy, so we plugged her in on a Thursday.
That's awesome.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. We're down a host for the keto cookout because she's got some life things going on right now, but we're not filling that spot right now. We're hoping that she can come back in time. So, yeah, we miss her for
yeah.
sure.
After Lioness, I try to pop over to the cookout. You'll probably often see me because we do Lioness and then we usually chat a little bit after. And then I hop over to see if the cookout's still going because I love the keto cookout. It's awesome. It's like just such a fun, kind of like more lighthearted, which I think is needed. So
Mhm.
another thing that I think that collaboration is my thing. Like, and I'm loving it. So another collaboration that I'm doing is with Mike Shaw TV, and he had the funny idea to make like a spoof of a drug commercial, but for Carnivore Diet. So he's getting like testimonials, and so I did mine is like the funny part. It's funny, but I'm not gonna spoil it. But yeah, be looking for that. And then we've already thought of like, okay, we already need another commercial because there's so many more things we could say. Um, and so yeah, just kind of stuff like that. And that was really inspired, well, by Mike himself. But I thought this is kind of like, the cookout, right, with Russ and all the, just trying to make things a little more like, let's just make it a little more lighthearted. So there's that. Cooking, I'm not a cook or a chef, but people seem to want to know how a regular person does this. Like, what do you even eat? How do you cook it? People want to know. So when I do that, like when I got my first cast iron pan, yeah, that's how I cook my ribeye in my cast iron pan or whatever. So I started a collaboration with Lori at Carnivore Journey Crew, and where she taught me a recipe that she had tried, and neither one of us knew what we were doing, but we gave it a try. We made it. We cooked, sort of like we're doing now, so pre-recorded, but together. We were both on the screen. She showed me what to do, and then I did it. We're doing at least one more of those. We're gonna see
Okay.
how things go over, but people seem to like it. So yeah, it's just kind of fun, and then you can kind of cook along with us. So I think I'm gonna continue with that. Like I said, the meatloaf relay. So I'm trying to come up with more just different spins on it because people do start to say, "Oh, I'm just kind of sick of eating this or that." I hear that comment sometimes. So we're trying to, help with that. Interviews. So I love interviews. I love interviewing and I love being the interviewee. So my series on that is called A Meeting With, but it's obviously meeting MEAT, a meeting with.
Right.
So I just had Limitless Lindy. She's fantastic.
Very
Um,
cool.
yeah, she was my latest one. And I have a few more coming up that I'm excited about. You might be one of them, Adam. So
Oh. Can't
yeah.
wait.
Then you can do all the talking and not just, yeah.
And you sit back and relax.
I will be asking the questions.
Uh-oh. I'm ready.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah, I have been meaning to contact you for a long time, but yeah, my schedule just been full. But like I was so happy that you reached out to me because I kept thinking like I need to email Adam, and then I just didn't. So
Right?
thank you for reaching out.
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah. So one last thing
Okay.
that I'd like to find out from you is advice for a newcomer. So, what
Mm.
advice would you give to someone considering a keto or carnivore diet?
So I would say if and I know this is going to sound crazy coming from me, but especially if you're going to do keto, in the beginning, I do think it is a good idea to track your carbs because, like, I did not know what 20 carbs looked like. I had no clue. So, if you're going to do keto, I do feel like that would be beneficial to do. And then I would say monitor, like, really think about what your body is telling you. My mom is heavy meat based keto. She's doing amazing. She's 71. She picked up a jump rope the other day.
Wow.
Like, what is happening? She started jump roping a little in the morning and the night. Her arthritis in her hand. Before this, she couldn't have gripped the jump rope. Now she has no problem. She couldn't make a fist. So she's a pretty healthy person. She wasn't like on medications or anything. She's lost over 20 pounds though, and her hands are like going like her arthritis is reversing. And then she's like jump roping and walking and jogging. So she's doing great. Like I wouldn't say, Mom, you need to go carnivore. Cause why? Like you know what I mean? If you notice that you are still having some symptoms, I think that's when you start tweaking. Maybe it's turning the carb knob down the way I did. Maybe you'll do it more intentionally than I did it because I'm giving you this advice to maybe try that. Um, and then I would say, reach out to somebody, like get into this community because if you don't have anybody in your life doing this with you, it can be tricky. Like I have people like my mom and like my teacher bestie. All of us teachers have a teacher bestie. My teacher bestie is keto. So I do have other people around me, but like nobody in my house. So this community means everything to me. I've got people that I can like text or I can like go on their video and be like, hey, or I can Instagram message any one of them. And same for me, like they can do the same with me. So I'd say get into community, help keep each other accountable. Find your favorite, like it doesn't have to be me, like find your favorite, YouTuber and just like, connect that way and stay in it because when you're looking at everybody around you, when you're just getting started, you will be tempted. The cravings don't turn off like you ate a ribeye and now you don't want ice cream like immediately. That's gonna take time to happen. And so it is a struggle, to get through that. And on keto, things for me were still bingeable. So be careful of that. Like cheese and nuts were super bingeable for me when I was keto. So just be aware of that, like what your triggers are. If you're having like any symptoms, like adaptation symptoms, reach out to a veteran so they can probably help you to figure that out. That's one of my favorite things in live stream. Like any one of my live streams, somebody came on so nicely and said, I'm a new carnivore. Can I ask a question? And I was like, you can ask all the questions. And so they put their questions in there. We did our best to answer them. None of us being medical professionals, but just sharing our experiences. So I can say on any one of my live streams, feel free, pop in and ask us, and we'll do our best to help you or point you in the direction of the expert that probably has the answer. So, off the top of my head, hopefully those are some good tips to help somebody out who's just starting. And don't give up. Give it a good chance to work. Don't be like, oh, I did it for 2 weeks and it didn't work. I think maybe a good, 30, 60, 90-day trial might be in order.
Yeah, that's great advice. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So now comes the time where we need to plug your channel. So can you tell everybody where to find you?
Yeah, my main thing that I'm doing is YouTube. So it's on the screen in front of you at Meeting Wellness. You can search it that way. And you will find me. I'm also on Instagram, but you guys, Instagram is like too much for this Gen Xer. I'm learning, but I'm learning slowly. I am there though, and like I a lot use it for like messages. I do some posts on there. Oh, that's my doorbell. I wonder who it is. I ain't running hide from my doorbell, Adam. I'm not scared.
We're not on the cookout.
No, we're not. Anyway, but yeah, so I am on Instagram, but just I post few and far between there. Like sometimes I'll put like upcoming stuff if I'm excited about it, and just like to point them back at my YouTube or like I said, messaging or things like that. But yeah, it's same handle at Meeting Wellness.
Very cool. So, Christy, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you today. And I'm so happy that your mental conditions and your anxiety and things have improved and that you've been able to take off that weight and keep it off. And your mental bandwidth is open now that you can spend more time with your family and do the things that matter in life. And you get to share your story with everybody and the rising tide lifts all ships. And I definitely appreciate you and everything that you're doing in the community. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for inviting me on. I've had a great time. So thank you.
Very cool. Bye, Christy.
Bye.